Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, a podcast devoted to helping you take your message, your business, and your life to the next level. This, my friends, is episode number 465, and I am your host, Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answer man. And this week's episode, I am delighted to tell you that I'm in the studio all by myself. That's right. We're doing a solo episode this week. And the interesting thing is that I just had an amazing 1-hour conversation with Loria Prociuzzi from, well, you might know her as previously known as Callie Lewis from geekbrief.tv or geekbeat.tv and now geekslife.com and Geeks University. And Callie has been around since the very early days of podcasting. She was one of the very first video podcasters. She has had an incredible journey over the last 10, 11 years, and I got an opportunity to have a very transparent and extremely authentic conversation with her about her entrepreneurial journey. Now, I didn't want this show to feel like this is turning into an interview style format for the podcast where I have a guest on every single week. And so just because of that, I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to play that episode for you next week. So if you want to hear what's been going on in Loria's life and her very inspiring and yet very revealing look into the life of somebody who has, you might think it has it all together, but is still working things out. It's an awesome conversation that I had with her, and I look forward to sharing that with you next week, so make sure you tune in. But this week, I wanted to break the format up a bit, just as a little word of note here to you, as an encouragement to you. Don't ever feel like you need to be confined by the format that you may have chosen for your show. For those of you who are doing an interview-only format and all you've ever done is interviews because, well, that's what you thought you would do when you started the show, and, well, because that's what you've always done, that's what you're going to continue to do. You don't have to do that. I just want to encourage you to experiment a little bit. Bring in a co-host, and matter of fact, just because you have a co-hosted format doesn't mean you have to have the same co-host. Now, those of you who have been listening to this podcast for years know that there's been times when I've brought my friend Eric Fisher in, and he's come in to have a co-hosted conversation related to social media just for a particular segment of the show. There's been times when he's been the co-host for an entire episode. And then just last week, I had my friend Mark Mason on, and he wasn't a guest. He wasn't an interviewee. He was my co-host for last week's episode. And just because you bring somebody in to co-host an episode doesn't mean that this has to be a lifelong marriage commitment to your co-host. You can bring in co-hosts whenever you want just to have conversations with them to spark you on and to give you inspiration on what you want to share and how you want to share it, and to hear them ask you questions that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. If nothing else, I want to encourage you, please consider experimenting a little bit with the format of your show. Anyway, I want to give you an update from last week. Now, last week you heard the passion and the zeal I had all about this new Kajabi system that I've been working in. And I just want to let you know that first and foremost, I now officially have 3 of my existing tutorial products that are completely moved over to the new Kajabi system, and I could not be more excited. In fact, if you want to see them, if you want to at least see the sales page and how it looks, go over to store.podcastanswerman.com. Again, that is store.podcastanswerman.com. Currently, I'm looking at it, and I'm really excited about the new visual feel that I'm going with, the product images and stuff like that. By the way, if anybody's looking at these items or these product images on the website as you're listening and you've pulled it up, and by the way, if you're driving right now, do this later. But if you're wondering, what I've done is I've just opened up Photoshop, and I have a nice background image that I found that I really like a lot, that I've been using in many other areas, and wallpapers for desktop computer screensavers and everything else. But anyway, I've got this background image that I chose, and then what I typically will have is a logo or a product image, and then I'm using an app on my iPhone called WordSwag, Word Swag on the iPhone is a little app that allows you to put in text and it will do all kinds of fonts and formats. And I found a little combination of a font and format that kind of gives a uniform feel and I think a pretty decent visual appeal to what I've got going on. So I've created these graphics myself, and there's a little uniformity between them, and I kind of like what's going on, and I love the visual feel of the store and the products. Now, by the time you're hearing this, if you're not hearing this within 2 or 3 days of me publishing this episode 465, there may be more products. They might be in all kinds of different orders. I'm playing around with everything, but I'm really excited to see these in here. And my goal is to have all 11 of my existing publicly available tutorials and products that are digital tutorials, if you will, all transitioned over to Kajabi, and that's within the next 2 weeks. Now, let's see here. I've got an outline of the things I want to share with you. Now, I want, and I'm not finished with the Kajabi update. I want to tell you that I have been spending many hours exploring the back end of Kajabi, and the deeper that I dig into this thing, the more I'm falling in love with it. One of the things that I've learned as I've been exploring the history of Kajabi and how it came about is that this is not their first rodeo. The guys behind this have been doing this for a very long time. They started out with a product. Well, I can't remember the name of their original product, but then they came out with the product called Kajabi, and then they came out a couple years later with the program called Kajabi Next. And as they've taken everything that they've learned through all of those experiences, they've now created this product called New Kajabi. And as I'm tweaking themes and I'm getting inside of here and I'm thinking, man, I wish I was able to do this, and it feels like, oh, man, if they could just have that option, it would be awesome. And so they have this incredible online community, a private Facebook group for Kajabi users, and it's wonderful peer support. And they do have some of their staff that's in there as well that will jump in from time to time and give announcements and maybe even join a conversation and give some answers. Which, by the way, they have a support system that you could go to, but I find that sometimes I can get an answer really quick from peer support inside of this Facebook group. So I just post random things there. It's like, I was digging into the themes, and wouldn't it be great if we could do this? And wouldn't you know it, like within an hour, I go back to Facebook and I see that somebody's commented on my post with this dream request of this idea that I had, and they're like, well, here's the setting. This is how you do it. You go here, here, and here. And it's within a click of a button, that option's already there. It's like they've already thought about this. And the reason why is because they have thousands of people who've been creating courses for years inside of their products. And this request I wasn't the first to come up with the idea, and it's built in. And the other thing that I know is that as I'm, some of the things that I might come up with, or some of the really odd things that I want to do that probably nobody else really has thought of, they wouldn't want to do it the way that I would want to do it. The cool thing is that I have full access to all of these themes that are inside of there, these theme templates that they have. And because I have full access, and I have enough information just to be dangerous inside of these systems with coding. I don't know how to code anything from scratch when it comes to PHP and all this other stuff. But what I do have the ability, and I've had this ability since I was a young kid, I have the ability to go in and look at code and do searches for things like, it's like, okay, I know that this little area that I want to change, it's got this word in it, and that word has to be produced by code that's inside the system, and I'll go through all the different source files, and I'll do a text search for that phrase. And I'm like, oh, well, that's obviously, this is the bit of code that causes that to happen. And then I look at that code, and I can kind of just parse what that code is forcing it to do with what it's saying. And sometimes I can just change the text inside and do what I want to do. And sometimes I can manipulate it in another way. And yeah, I know enough just to be dangerous. I'm no coder by any stretch of the imagination. But the interesting thing is I've been able to do some things in there that I kind of pat myself on the back. It's like, oh, wow, that worked out. That wasn't so terrible. And the good news is that if I break one of these themes because I'm playing around with this code and I don't know what I'm doing, if I I erase an ampersand and it or a semicolon and it completely breaks everything. It's not a big deal because those templates are in there and I can reload the template, and it couldn't be easier than what it is to fix all this stuff. And I realize I'm saying that for me and at my technical skill level, and I'm not trying to boast. I'm just saying that, I realize that the kind of things that I'm doing inside of the customization of these theme templates, I realize not everybody's going to jump in there and feel comfortable doing that or even know where to look and stuff. But I'm having fun. And that's what I want to share with you is my experience with Kajabi over this past week. And by the way, speaking of themes, one of the things that I've learned about their system is, and I love that it's modular. So they have 3 different types of templates that can control the look and the feel of your site. There is the website, which is basically the external, open to everybody in the public kind of view of your site. And this is like the homepage of your site. It's the store where your products are listed. If you have a blog, it's there. I mean, so all of it's the visual appearance or the layout or the theme of your overall website itself. Then there are another type of theme, and that is landing page themes. Now, this Kajabi system comes with landing pages for you to create sales pages, thank you pages, opt-in forms. And the interesting thing is that you can do a different theme and different design and layout for any landing page you create inside of Kajabi. And so I'm really enjoying that. And I haven't created officially a landing page yet, but I am working on some things, and I'll share with you in just a few moments about that. But then not only is there a different, and so your landing pages don't have to follow the same look and feel and layout of your website. You can have a unique theme for each landing page. But the same is true for your products or / courses inside of the system. So you could have a different way that your course looks and feels inside of Kajabi based upon how you want that course to look. So for example, there is a theme layout where it just makes sense that this theme is designed for a tutorial or a digital product or a course that obviously has, let's just say, an overall category, let's just called Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, Module 4, or Week 1, Week 2, Week 3, Week 4. And then within Module 1, there's Assignment 1, Assignment 2, Assignment 3. So it's Week 2, Assignment 1, Week 3, Assignment 4. And the layout of that theme, that's what that theme was designed to look perfectly for. But what happens if you have a product or a digital tutorial or a course that is a single video? Well, that same theme doesn't necessarily apply. Now, I'm not going to, I don't know anything about Teachable or anything like that, but I'm wondering, does Teachable have the same feature or the layout? Is it only courses that you sell in there, and is it assumed that it's multiple video and you always have the nav menu on the side that takes you and walks you through? Whereas inside of Kajabi, there's templates in there for a product or a course or whatever you have inside of there that when they go and they click on that particular product once it's inside of their library, then when it loads up a single video with text and resources links underneath it. So you can have a different theme for every product if you want to, and a different look and feel. And the interesting thing is that I've actually now got 2 products that are using the same theme. Actually, I think all 3 of them are using the same theme. But one of them doesn't have anything more than one video, and so some of the language in one theme, the themes are customized per product. So if I go in and change some of the coding of the theme, that coding only applies to that particular product. And so the original theme is left untouched, and I can go start a whole other product from the original theme. Now, what if you make so many modifications to the theme and its visual attributes and the assets, the images and stuff like that are associated with it? Do you want to have to start over from scratch? And one of the other cool things is that as you've been tweaking, at any point you can go in and export your customizations of your theme that you got applied to this product or landing page or website, and you can export it and it downloads a zip file for you. And then at any point when you're creating a new product, a new landing page, or a new website design for your site, you can take that export with all of your customizations and then import it as the new theme for that new landing page or product or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I'm loving this. Can you tell how excited I am? I am so excited. So much so that my mind is constantly racing with all kinds of ideas of creative ways that I can use this. So first and foremost, yes, I definitely want to spend, within the next 2 weeks, I want all 11 of my existing digital training tutorial products, I want all of them over to Kajabi. And that will happen. I'm excited that 3 of them are already there. Now, the other thing that I want to do eventually is there are a couple of these tutorials that have some of my old branding. And while the information is still as valuable as it was when this thing was created maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my own production standards as far as the visual elements of what I'm doing, and not only that, the Roland RO5 tutorial is probably not going to get updated anytime soon because it's relatively new. I think I just updated it like 18 months ago. But for those of you who have been following my health and fitness journey, you know that I've dropped about 100 pounds. I've dropped about 100 pounds of fat since I actually did the Roland RO5 tutorial. And so part of me wants to just redo that one just because I literally look like a completely different person. But anyway, so eventually I want to get in there and I want to do a refresh on a lot of these tutorials that are existing. But anything that I make available for sale, I'm 100% fully convinced of its value. In fact, I think they're all very much underpriced compared to what people were paying for them. My one-on-one to get the same information. And not only that, the people who were getting the one-on-one, they relied on their own notes, whereas here you have some resources, some visual elements that go along with it, like and you can watch it over and over again, download it, take it with you, all that stuff. So if I'm selling it, I know that it still has value. But they're still within me. I want to update some of this stuff, and I'm going to be updating some of this stuff. So that's some of the things. But just an idea. It's just to give you an idea of how crazy things are racing through my mind. So not only can I sell inside of Kajabi individual products where it's a one-off purchase, connected via Stripe, but I know that I can also sell membership. So I can sell a product. I can create a product inside of there, and then create this offer for you to buy it. Instead of a one-time payment, it can actually be a monthly subscription. Or I can actually, there's an option for you to even create a payment plan. So whereas, you pay over the course of, you pay a certain amount for a certain number of months, and then it's paid. And of course it even says, and if the person's, payment is canceled via Stripe, so they go in, they stop the payment, then it automatically will revoke their access. So it even knows to do that. And the same is true with the monthly. And so you can actually create a monthly payment of $99 or $49 or $9.99 or whatever the case may be. And if you can go in and it will, that offer for $9.99, if they sign up for it, it gives them access to the product that's assigned to it. And if all of a sudden they cancel their payment plan and they stop the monthly payments, then Kajabi knows to automatically go and then take away their access to that product, because the idea is that you're paying for monthly access, and if you're not paying, then the access goes away. And so it's all built in. It's all incredible. I'm really excited about it. And I was thinking about this. I'm starting to think, I want to create some recurring revenue streams. And a crazy idea that came to me today as I was wondering, well, I wonder if anybody would be interested in a Cliff's Notes on business. What am I doing in my business? Kind of almost like an almost daily vlog about just the things that I'm doing, that I've done today. So maybe at the end of the day, right around 4 or 5 o'clock, or if I'm working much later into the day, what if I were just to give like a 5-minute, maybe no more than 10, but certainly closer to 5-minute breakdown. Here are the things that I accomplished today. These are the things that I did. These are some of the things that I learned. And it doesn't have to be edited or anything like that. It's just a little video vlog of this is what I did in my business today. And by the way, I found out about this new resource. I ordered this little product off of Amazon, and this is what I'm excited about using it for. And I just, the reason why I thought this might be interesting is because I've been doing some one-on-one coaching, not necessarily consulting related to people's podcasting, but I've made it known to some folks that I have, and by the way, this is all sold out right now. I don't have any other openings, but for a while there, for a limited time, I told people that I was available for one-on-one coaching in the area of goal setting, mindset, brainstorming about an online business, as long as it's not about hooking up your cables and all the stuff related to launching and starting a podcast, because all of that is podcasting A to Z. And I still love that stuff, and I want to do that stuff, but that's podcasting A to Z. By the way, my next session of podcasting A to Z, the registration's still available right now. October 3rd is the next session, podcastingatoz.com. So that's where I send those people. But I've been offering, hey, if you're thinking about creating an online business, or you have an online business and it's not maybe going the way that you think, or you want to brainstorm an idea, you want to talk to me about anything, maybe even you don't even care about business, or maybe you've got a successful business, you're even more successful than I am in business, but your health and fitness is out of control, and you want to talk about, maybe some mindset things and some tips and strategies on things that I've done to implement to take my health and fitness to the next level, and how I've been able to work out 6 days a week, every single week, and make that commitment and actually sustain that commitment for 21 months now without fail. And so if you want to talk about that, so I opened up these coaching calls for those kind of calls. And it's been incredible. I've loved working with these people. And so far, every single person I've done a one-on-one session with has either signed up for a 3 or 6 month coaching package, or definitely will be hiring me in the future if I do open any more one-off sessions. So incredible stuff. And the reason why I bring all of that up is because a number of my one-on-one coaching clients have said, Cliff, one of the things that I'd love to do today is I would just like to know, what are you doing in your business right now? What have you been up to? What are you most excited about? What did you do today? I'd love to just know, what does a day in the life of Cliff Ravenscraft in his business look like? And so I'm sharing some of these things, and I'm sharing things that are just as like, well, I did this today, and I did this, and by the way, it's like, oh, and how did you do that? And they're like, oh, and what payment system are you using, and how does that work, and they're asking me all these, and it's like, wow, there's a ton of value in just this mundane, everyday stuff that I do. And so this crazy idea came on, I don't know if I would call it Cliff's Notes on Business, but it'd be like a private vlog. This wouldn't be something I would put on my YouTube channel like the vlogging that I did there for a while, because that kind of needs to be a little bit more edited and things. But this would just be like a little 5-minute me looking to my iPhone camera and saying, hey guys, this is what I did today. These are some of the resources that I used to accomplish what I did today, and this is what I'm thinking of. This is what I'm going to do. I'm looking at tomorrow. It's going to be a crazy day, but this is how I'm going to handle it. Or at the end of the day, I might say, gosh, God, at the beginning of the day, my to-do list looked like this, and I only did 3 things, but this is how I feel about that, and this is why. This is what I'm going to do as a result of it, or, all of those kind of things. So I'm interested in knowing, and I don't know how to do this other than to ask you, go to podcastanswerman.com/465. That's the show notes for this episode. But if you go to podcastanswerman.com/465, if 10 people were to say, Cliff, if you were to do the paid access to your almost daily business vlog, for paid access, and I'm thinking $10 a month, all right? So $10 a month, and in a couple days per week, I will share with you what I've been working on, what I'm doing in a personal vlog. If this is an idea that sounds like at least 10 of you would say, Cliff, if you had it today, I would sign up today for $10 a month, then go to podcastanswerman.com/465. If 10 of you say, yes, I would sign up, then I'll consider launching it, and we'll get it going and getting it underway. So we'll see if that comes out. But these are just all kinds of crazy ideas have been coming to my mind. And I have no doubt that I will be doing a lot of new streams of income just because of what this system is making available to me. And by the way, if we do the private vlog, some of you will get to hear some of the crazy ideas that nobody else will ever hear. So fun stuff. And not only that, but I'm thinking that for the $10 a month, what I will do is I will potentially turn on the commenting feature for those videos as well, and you can comment and we can engage there and stuff like that. But obviously, I would have to put some kind of disclaimer that I'm not going to be offering consulting or coaching through that commenting system and stuff like that. I can't for $10 a month, but certainly I think this would be an interesting inside community kind of deal. So yeah, who knows? And in the future, I'm thinking even like a hashtag Train with Cliff community, health and fitness, maybe. I don't know. Just a support and encouragement group for other people. So all kinds of interesting ideas. Anyway, here's what I want to tell you. I still have so much to learn about the features inside of Kajabi. I mean, I very much understand how to create products. I understand the themes now. I understand a lot about the landing pages and stuff like that. But there's still so many things for me to learn. For example, I don't need to learn it this week, but I need to figure out how to use the affiliate system. One of my goals is to get the Podcasting A to Z checking the shopping cart. Right now, when you go to podcastingatoz.com, that's a landing page that is a not so beautiful landing page, but it's been very effective and successfully selling out my course time and time again. Podcasting A to Z has been extremely successful for me and for every student who has ever gone through it. By the way, over 585 students have gone through Podcasting A to Z now. I just wrapped up my 26th session. So far, out of 585 students who have gone through, 100% satisfaction rating. Everyone completely 100% satisfied. I'm so excited about that. So, and again, podcastingatoz.com, October 3rd, my next session. But anyway, one of the things that I'm thinking is that over the course of maybe even this weekend, I'm thinking I'm going to block out all day tomorrow and might work all weekend. And Stephanie's cool with this. She's excited that I'm so excited about some of the things that we're doing in the business right now. And so I might work several hours over each day, Saturday. Actually, not so much on Sunday. Sunday's my son's birthday, so no, can't do that. Saturday, though. Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be working on, I want to definitely, right now, if you go to Podcasting A to Z and click register now, that's going to take you to the eJunkie cart. I'm going to be moving that over to the Kajabi system. Now, the thing is I did look, and I could actually create an offer inside of Kajabi. You can click on it and pay for it. It takes you to the checkout. It'll even give you a thank you page. So all of that stuff will happen. But it doesn't necessarily send you an email saying, I can't control an email right now of what, actually I could. There is a way to do that. Just came to my mind. Yep. There's certainly a way that could happen. Okay. So my mind is racing with all kinds of ideas. But anyway, what I'm thinking is that I'm actually going to create a Podcasting A to Z registration confirmation product. And so basically it's going to, I said, how many times have I said that now? So what'll happen is you'll click on the register now button on the sales page. It'll take you to the offer or the checkouts page for Podcasting A to Z inside of Kajabi. You'll pay right there. And then it'll take you to your library, and then I can actually envision the product being in your library, and it's going to say Podcasting A to Z, registration information you need to know, or something like that. And then, of course, they'll click in, and it'll be, instead of a full-blown course with everything, it's simply going to be information. It's going to be the same kind of information that normally would be emailed to you via eJunkie, but this is going to be right there inside of that, and it's actually going to be a little bit more personalized, and I think I'm really excited about it. And this is stuff that's been going through my head. So yeah, I'm in the shower, I'm working out. I was on the treadmill this morning, and it was the most incredible morning run that I had on the treadmill because the music is going in the background, and normally I'm focused on how long have I been running and stuff like that. Dude, I ran 30 minutes today, 5 miles an hour, and I think I stopped once in the middle for a drink of water. And my watch told me it was 30 minutes was up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's up already. I was not even I couldn't even realize I was running. I don't even know what songs were on in the background. I was so focused on thinking about all of these different things and how they're going to look and what the workflow look like and how can I make sure that the experience of what if I'm an end user who has just clicked on the register button and then they go to the shopping cart and what does it look like? What's the thank you page say? What does this say? And I'm thinking through all of these things and yeah, I'm still in love with this thing. Can you tell? So yeah. And also, and one of the reasons, and of course, I also want to use a landing page from Kajabi to completely redo my podcasting A to Z sales page. And so that's one thing that I'll do. And as soon as I get that over, that converted over and looking nice, then I will take podcastinga2z.com and point it over to the new sales page, aka landing page. So, and another, there are other features in there that I need to figure out, like the what is it called? Give me a second. Aweber integration, third-party integration. So there's the option for you to create forms, and people can fill out forms, and it will not only give them accounts. When people sign up, they can actually sign up for your mailing list or automatically be added to a mailing list, potentially with a tag. I was thinking I was going to have to go over to ConvertKit to get some of the things, but it looks to me like Kajabi's really working on their email marketing inside of the system. And there's the potential that could even be done inside of Kajabi. And that's going to be potentially incredible. And, oh, man, I'm super excited. Still so much to learn. And I would say it is September 1st. So we got September, October, November, December. So I got 4 more months this year. Is that right? September, October, November. Yeah. So I've got 4 more months this year to play around in Kajabi. And I will tell you right now, by January 1st, I will be a Kajabi expert. I will be a Kajabi ninja. And the stuff that I will be able to do in Kajabi will be mind-blowing. And I'm excited about what that means for my coaching clients moving forward. And I'm not talking about just by the way, if you guys haven't heard, I'm still going to be around teaching podcasting. I'm still going to be helping people in podcasting, helping people successfully launch their podcast and a podcast that sounds great. That is still something I'm very focused on. But if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm also interested in encouraging and helping people who want to do what I've been doing over the last 10 years, which is build their own online business related to things that they're passionate about, finding work that's fulfilling and meaningful and living a life where you have the freedom to choose what hours you work. And by the way, I'm all about what I talked about over the last couple weeks and what you're going to hear next week, even with Lauria. I'm all about being authentic and real about the struggle that it is to create and launch your business. It doesn't happen overnight. And if anybody thinks they're going to hire me or any other coach and have a 6-figure income within a year and you have no audience right now, it's probably not going to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the likelihood is, let's build you an audience. And maybe make some income along the way. But man, for those who have a little bit of an audience or a big audience, or who are building an audience and are okay with sales just trickling in, I'm excited about the fact that it's like, yeah, let me show you how to create a course. Matter of fact, I can even see creating courses on creating courses in Kajabi. Now, Kajabi, by the way, has their own online courses, but obviously there are people and here's the thing. There are free tutorials on Adobe Audition. There are free tutorials on Audacity. There's a free tutorial on everywhere on how to podcast, and people still buy my products. And so I still know that people will buy this as well. And so I'm excited about becoming more and more of a Kajabi ninja, and absolutely loving it. What else? So yeah, let's just move on. I want to give you another update, and it's on the impact that Tony Robbins and the Unleash the Power Within event. Now, a couple months ago, back in June, I went to Tony Robbins. I came back and I've told you guys all about it and just how excited it was and life-changing and all of these things. And the question is this going to wear off? Will this stuff eventually just kind of fade into the past, and eventually I'll fall into some of the old way of thinking and all that stuff? And I just want to say, first of all, has the effect wore off? Not at all. I mean, it's zero. Matter of fact, if anything, it's like this. It's like it was a spark that was ignited, and the actual impact continues to grow and expand and work its way into even new and exciting other areas of my life. And so, no, the effect has not wore off. It literally is as though many areas of my way of thinking has been completely rewired. And I know that some people were concerned. It's like, oh, Tony Robbins, I hope you don't go there. He just takes people's money. And there's no question in my mind. There's a lot of people who buy a lot of products and services from Tony Robbins and go to his events and spend tens of thousands of dollars over the course of years with him, and they don't do anything with it, right? I know that happens, and that happens not just with Tony Robbins. It happens with a lot of people. But I can't begin to tell you how much it was worth it. Now, I went to Tony Robbins' event, and one of the things, there was like 3 or 4 hours worth of sessions that were all about promoting getting you hooked into the other conferences. And by the way, I probably will end up going to some of those conferences at some point. But boy, did they have an enticing offer for you to sign up for all the package of, all 7 conferences and come to Fiji and be my guest and all this other stuff. And, I saw people, there were people in droves who were up there at that table signing up. And, it's like, I'm like, I'm going with the spirit of discernment here. I heavily invested in coming. I've learned enough here. I need to go and apply what I've learned here before I go and take in any new knowledge. I've got so much that I need to apply. And when I feel like I've conquered, when I feel like I've mastered what at least the handful, 18 pages of notes that I have, when I've mastered some of these things and I'm confident I've applied them to my life and I'm living them out and it's taking me to the next level, then yeah, I'll go to the next conference. And you know what? By that time, it'll be a no-brainer for me to afford it without any kind of special discount. And so that was my mindset. And I know not everybody has that. And I know a lot of people are easily influenced and even manipulated. And I'm not saying that Tony does that intentionally. But the thing is I just know that that's how it works for people. But here's the thing. I know some people were concerned. Cliff, you're going to Tony Robbins. I'm afraid he brainwashes people and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take a drink of water. I'm not editing that one out. But anyway, so did I come away brainwashed? I don't think I came away brainwashed. But what I did is I came away with new ways of thinking, and as such, ways of thinking that I will never, I refuse to ever go back to the old way of thinking. I am not going to do it. And so in that aspect or whatever, from that perspective, this is not going to wear off. And I'm still super excited, super charged up. And in fact, I have accomplished more since coming back from Unleash the Power Within. I've accomplished more in my business in, what is that? So July, August, just 2 months. In 2.5 months, I've accomplished more in my business than I did in the last 18 months. No, forget that. In the last 2 years. I've done more in 2.5 months and taken my business to a whole new level in the last 2.5 months than I have in the past 2.5 years. In fact, let me just say this. I just wrapped up Podcasting A to Z. Podcasting A to Z was all last month. I was working, with all the students that were there, helping them launch their shows, answered every single question they could come up with. I answered every single one of them. I even got on a couple calls with a couple students who were struggling to understand how to do something and scheduled a couple one-on-one go-to-meeting sessions, looked at what was going on their system and was able to point out what they were missing. And it's like, oh, wow, I can't believe I didn't see that. And it's like, yeah, I can, no problem, and glad to help. And we talked a little bit. So not only did I maintain the great, excellent level of service for Podcasting A to Z, but here's the deal. The way that my income flow has happened in my business has been such that, the month and a half leading up to a Podcasting A to Z are really good income months for our business. So the income jumps up really high. You figure it's $2,000 to go through my course. Usually between 20 to 30 students go in at a time. So as you can do the math there, that's a significant amount of income that's coming in. And then when Podcasting A to Z starts, I pretty much stop marketing. In fact, during August, I did not market my October session of Podcasting A to Z. In fact, it wasn't until halfway through the month that I even changed the Podcasting A to Z sales page to say that it starts on October 3rd. But normally I don't bring any A to Z income in during a month when I'm actually performing A to Z. Now that's something that is not intentional. It's just always been what it is. There's always been such an amount of income. Now the thing is there are things that I could do and that I should do and that in the future I will be doing that will automate some of the marketing and automate and allow me to have more of the, more A to Z revenue coming in those months when I'm actually even performing an A to Z. So I know all of that, but here's the interesting thing. So knowing that this month was a non-A to Z revenue generating month, I was thinking, this is going to be a pretty low income month. But this is the funniest thing. In August of 2016, it was the most income, it was the highest revenue generating month that I've had. And why is that? It's because I've taken massive action on new things. I opened up a bunch of blocks of time. I went to my mailing list and I said, hey guys, I'm opening up 20 blocks of time for 1 hour each. 20 hours on my schedule. You can have 1 hour session with me for $300. Here are the things. It's not consulting. I'm not going to help you, launch your podcast or help you with your equipment hookup. But this is, all those things that I told you about earlier in this show. But I explained to him what the purpose of these calls were. And I said, if you want it, it's $300 for 1 hour. And, this is a limited time offer. Those sold out instantly. And as I said, several of those at the end of the call, they're like, hey, can I continue this? And I said, well, I'm not doing any more one-offs, but I do have this package for 3 or 6 months. And so a couple of them did that. And right now that package is $3,500 is the minimum one. And so they're like, yeah, sign me up. And so all of these little $3,500 plus all the 300 times 20, all of that ended up, it became like it was the highest revenue generating month of this year. And like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. So, and here's how that ties into going back to the Tony Robbins thing. It all comes to something called what I learned there. It's called the science of achievement. All right. Science of achievement. Now, before I get into it, I want to just say this. Before we get into the science of achievement, another thing that I learned from Tony Robbins is these 3 mandates or keys to effective leadership. All right. So 3 mandates or keys to effective leadership. Number 1, refuse to ever, or actually, you want to always see things as they really are. You want to be authentic, open, and when you're facing an obstacle, when you're facing a problem or an issue or a challenge or some kind of project that you want to see happen and you're not sure how it's going to happen, when you have these things in front of you, number 1, you must see things as they really are. You can't sugarcoat it, but you definitely have to see it as they really are. But here's the other thing I learned, and this has been so critical for me. You have to be committed to never seeing anything as worse than it really is. My friends, this right here, if you just stopped the episode after this point, this episode would have been worth it, I believe. I have learned to make this commitment that I will never see anything as worse than it really is. And I have always been, in the past, I had always been this guy who always jumped to like conclusions of, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. Back in the day, I'd be ready to go out and spend some time with my family and have dinner, and I'd been working around the clock, and all of a sudden my website is down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my website's down, and the internal server error. This is back in the days when I was still on shared hosting, and I'm like, oh, I've got to fix this, and I'm worried about it, I'm fretting, and this is so horrible, and this is like the worst thing that could happen, and it literally would destroy the time that I have with my family. Any time I'm spending with them it's really wasted because I'm not really with them. I'm inside my head with the problem. I come back and I'm working around the clock. I'm waiting for the support system. I'm doing research and blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, 18 hours later, everything's perfectly fine and I breathe easier, but I have more gray hair. I have a lot more stress, probably did a little bit damage to my heart as a result. And I went on. And sometimes I would allow myself to even think it's because I actually took action and I was so attentive to the thing. When in reality, if I would have just saw that my site was down and I would have just submitted a support ticket and say, hey guys, my site is down. Can you look into this? And if I would have come back after dinner and they would have said, oh, you know what, we noticed this, we're doing this and this and this, we'll let you know as soon as it's fixed. We're on this. And then I wake up the next morning and without any stress, without any worry whatsoever, everything's back to normal. And there's no need to worry. So the reality is that I made it out much worse than it was. And to give you an example, and this came into last week's episode when I was talking with Mark Mason. Remember, I told you that I got this notice from FreshBooks a couple months ago saying, hey, effective August 1st, we're no longer going to support PayPal Website Payments Pro. So if you want to continue to accept credit cards, you either need to use our payment processor or you would have to go to another supported system. Stripe might be a good option for you. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. I got A to Z. I've got all these coaching calls. I have this. That would be my old way, right? And it's like, no, okay. It's like, okay. And I put it on my to-do list. Figure out what to do with FreshBooks. And I'm like, okay, that's what I need to do. And when I was doing that, I'm like, okay, this is something that is inconvenient. All right. But there are other people out there who have successfully set up payment processing, and chances are I could probably get on the phone. I know FreshBooks has great customer support, and rather than worry about anything, I could get on the phone with them and say, hey, let me talk about my options. Can I ask you a couple questions? And within 15, 20 minutes, I probably have my new thing up. Now, did I go that route? No. But did I worry? No, not at all. Finally, when I got around to saying, okay, it's time for me to now do this item on my to-do list, figure out what to do with FreshBooks, that's when all of a sudden I'm like, okay, let's do this. I've blocked out this next hour of time to figure out how to do this. And the next thing you know, within 15 minutes, my Stripe account is connected to FreshBooks. And within that time, I learned that I can actually do that with a separate Stripe account from my new Kajabi. And oh, by the way, now that I'm doing this, let me get in there and do Kajabi. And it's like, oh, wow. And that's what got me into Kajabi finally, when I'd been putting Kajabi off forever. And just think of how excited I am about a Kajabi, this whole episode talking about Kajabi. And it's all because I refused. I was committed to never seeing anything as worse than it is. It's just like, okay, that's something I need to do. That's an issue that I need to resolve. That is an obstacle I need to overcome. That is something that I need to do. And okay, I see it for what it is. So this mandate for a key to effective leadership is I do need to see it for what it really is. This is a serious problem that needs to be addressed. If I don't address this FreshBooks things, I'm not going to be able to receive any of those payments from those 20 coaching clients that have agreed to pay me $300 for 1 hour of my time. Or when I invoice some of them for $3,500 and they want to pay me via credit card, I will not be able to receive that if I don't take care of this. I see it for what it really is. It is a significant situation that needs to be addressed. I see it for what it really is, but I refuse to see it for worse than what it is. It's just a minor inconvenience, and it's something that can be resolved, and every resource that's necessary for me to resolve it is available to me. I just need to set aside the time and do the work. Boom. Major key to success there. Number 2, the second key to effective leadership and the second mandate for effective leadership is not only seeing it for what it really is and not worse than, but actually seeing it as better than it is. And this is where it comes to having vision. And there's a plaque on my wall that my great friend Dan Miller gave to me, and it says, "Lead with vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish." And it's a Proverbs. And he's got so he sent that to me as a studio / housewarming gift when we moved into our dream home that we built here. And the whole idea of being able to see it better than it is. So you see the issues, you see the obstacle, you see the things that you have to overcome in front of you. You see them for what they really are. You refuse to see them as worse than they are, and you say, okay, now. Now, what I need to do is I need to see this situation as being resolved. I need to have vision and see myself on the other side. And so when I approach the FreshBooks thing, and I know FreshBooks, this is a minor little thing, but but it was a significant thing that was important. It was a mission critical thing to accomplish by August 1st. So, but this applies to everything. And there's been other areas where I've applied the same principle. Maybe not necessarily as appropriate to talk about in a podcast, but there are other issues that have come up, and I'm like, okay, I refuse to see that as worse than it is. And I am committed to seeing it as better than it is. I actually I am committed to visualizing what does it look like to have successfully overcome this issue, this obstacle, or to resolve this problem. And so that's the second one. So number 1, and then number 3 is, well, you make it that way. All right. So here are the 3 mandates or keys to effective leadership. Number 1, see things as they really are, but refuse to ever see them as worse than they are. Then number 2, you need to see it as better than it is. You have to have vision and visualize what does it look like, feel like to have achieved success in resolving that problem or overcoming that obstacle. And then number 3, once you have seen it for what it really is and you see it as better than what it is, you've got the vision. Number 3 is take action and make it that way. Those are the 3 key elements or keys to effective leadership. And how do you make it that way? And that is where you come to the science of achievement. Now, this is, again, by the way, this is all stuff that I learned at this Unleash the Power Within. So many things. And this stuff is so incredible. It means a lot to me. I'm hoping that you guys are getting a lot out of this. So when it comes to the science of achievement, he calls it a science because this is reproducible. Anybody can plug in this formula and this works no matter what, every circumstance. This is how you achieve things. This is how you get things done. All right. So the science of achievement. And he says there are 3 forces of creation. And by the way, this is the first time I'm looking at the notes. So I just copied and pasted them here. So it's been a while since I've actually looked at any of this. But the first force of creation or creating anything and making things happen, number 1 is desire. And desire is focused energy. And wherever you focus, the energy is going to flow there. And energy is what's required for you to take action. And so all of a sudden, I have a desire to figure out how to get my credit card payments from FreshBooks, right? So that was the desire, all right? Once you, whatever it is, you have to focus. And the idea is when you focus on something, you have to decide to cut out anything else that is an option. Any other obstacles, any other distractions, you need to focus. So you have to have desire, and it has to be focused energy. So wherever you focus, that's going to give you the energy, and you need to focus all of that energy on accomplishing that goal. Once you have the desires, like I need to solve this problem of credit card payments with FreshBooks, then what you do is this is step number 2, the force of achievement, massive action. You must take massive action with effective execution. And I wrote a little note down here. It says, you can't just take any action and expect success. You must take the right type of action. And this is where it comes to this principle of modeling people. Look at other people who have achieved what it is that you are looking to achieve, and then go and model that. Figure out how they did it and see if that can't lead you to the path that's going to tell you what action you need to take so that you can do it. And guess what I did? I could have picked up the phone and did FreshBooks. Well, why didn't I pick up the phone and call FreshBooks customer support where that would have been the logical thing to do? Well, the reason is because when I had time and it came time for me to start working and taking action on this desire to solve my credit card problem with FreshBooks, well, I think it was on a Saturday. So it wasn't, they did not have, their customer service hours are Monday through Friday, probably 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, they weren't open on the weekend, and it was the weekend. And so how am I going to do this? It's like, well, number one, I have desire and I'm ready to take massive action. And what I'm going to do, I need to take the right action. And so I'm going to find people who have done this. And I started looking at help support documents, and I went to I had questions about having multiple accounts, and so I started searching and asked some people in some community forums, and every single time I had a question that I needed to know the answer for. I refused to see this problem as worse than it is. I realize other people have done this before. There are people who have successfully received payments from Stripe in FreshBooks, in New Kajabi. They have multiple accounts. There are other people who have done this, and I don't have access to them, but that's not going to freak me out. This is the time I have to do this. I'm going to go look for the answers. And I found online forums, help knowledge bases. And next thing you know, within 15 minutes, FreshBooks is now wired up and ready to take Stripe accounts. And now, not only that, but within an hour, all of a sudden, now Kajabi is finally set up as well to start taking payments. And I went in and I actually created a 50-cent fake product. And I went in and purchased my own product. And by golly, it worked. And I'm like, wow. And because I took massive action, woo, look out. I haven't stopped since. It's created so much momentum as a result of taking that action that it's led me to all of the things that I'm so excited about over the last 2 weeks of this content, of this podcast. And so there is 3 forces of creation. There is desire, there is massive action, and then Tony Robbins even says there is God. Number 3, the third force is God. Recognize just how involved God has been in bringing all the pieces together for you, and trust that He will continue to do the same moving forward. So yeah, that's it. That is just some of the things that I've learned. And let me just tell you, I have pages and pages and pages of notes of things just like that. And emotional state. Remember episode number 458. If you haven't listened to episode 458, go to podcastanswerman.com/458. It's all about how I can control my own emotional state. I can decide to be in a beautiful state of mind, a beautiful emotional state. And anytime I'm tempted to change to depressed, anger, despondent, all those other things, I can change. I have the control, and I can have, at any point in time, I can change my emotional state within an instant, a snap of the finger. And I have continually been able to keep that in check. And by the way, the other thing is my morning routine. Somebody was recently asking me about my morning routine. One of the things that I picked up at, maybe I'll talk about my morning routine at another time, because I see here that I'm already almost at an hour, and I do want to be respectful of your guys' time. I'm just so excited about the things that are going on. This is what's been going on in my life. I am super excited about my Kajabi account. Again, I want to encourage you, if you, I'm not asking you to go and buy anything, but if you just want to see the look and the feel of how it looks in there, store.podcastanswerman.com. And by the way, I told you there was a crazy idea. A private $10 a month access to a private almost daily business vlog. This is what I'm doing in my business. This is what I did today. These are the resources that I use to do them. Just little, maybe every couple days or maybe a couple times a week, I get in there, and it's nothing more than a 5-minute or less video of here are the things that I did. These are the resources. This is what I found. And, oh, check out this tool. And somebody just told me this. And I just used this consulting call or this. Matter of fact, one of my vlogs, I could talk about, hey, recently I had a coaching call and I was using GoToMeeting, and then all of a sudden I couldn't log into my GoToMeeting account. And this is how I handled that. And this is what happened. I felt so, embarrassed and stuff. And it was such a horrible first impression. And then I realized it wasn't my first impression, and because they had already come to know, like, and trust me, and they weren't worried about it. And this is how I contacted them. This is where we went to next, and we tried a phone call. I have terrible phone reception that even made me feel worse. I'm like, who am I? Blah blah blah. And then I'm like, but I'm not giving up. I refuse to see this as worse than it is. I am going to find a solution. And I'm like, oh, I remember I was trying out that Zoom service, and it's free. And by the way, Zoom.us is a free account, and I even contacted their customer service. I said, if I use this free account, it's unlimited, right? And they're like, yeah. And so but if I have a group of people, it's limited to 40 minutes per call, right? Per session, right? Yeah. And I said, well, then how do you determine, when to implement? So if I just get one-on-one, it's not going to cut me off at 40 minutes, right? Because it wouldn't cut you off until 40 minutes unless a third person joins. And I'm like, okay, so I could use this for my one-on-one, and I'm giving you a little insight into what one of these private vlogs might be like. And so I get into Zoom, and the next thing I know, 40 minutes into this call where we've already had GoToMeeting fail, we couldn't hear each other on my phone because of my poor phone reception in my studio. And now I've switched him over to Zoom. We're 40 minutes into the Zoom call, and I get this note that says this meeting, or actually we get 30 minutes into the Zoom call, and it says this meeting will end in 10 minutes unless you upgrade or start over. And I'm like, and why is it doing this? They told me it would be free. And what happened was the client wanted to call in by telephone, but was watching me share my screen via the computer, and it saw him as two different people, meaning that it was a group meeting of 3, which imposed the 40-minute limit. And in what I would share with you is that I'm like, hey, my clients, like, I explained to him what was going on. I was just being transparent, telling, I can't believe this. I got to tell you what's going on here. And I told him, anyway, so we were working this out. He goes, Cliff, do you want to just hang up and call me back, and we'll start it over and restart your 40 minutes? And I'm like, and I was tempted to say, yeah. And I'm like, wait a second. It's only $149 a year. And it would be nice to have this as a backup, and who knows. So let me just pull out my credit card and update, because it says here I got a button I can click up to I can upgrade to Pro right here. And so I said, just give me a minute, and I put in my credit card information. I hit the thing. It's like, you have now been upgraded to Pro, and it says the time limit of this call has now been removed. I'm like, oh, that was easy. And I'm like, and so at the end of the call, we actually lost about 15 minutes, and so I gave him extra 15 minutes at the end, and I apologize. He goes, Cliff, let me tell you, don't even worry about it. He goes, here's the thing. It's not so much the technical issues. I mean, we all have those, and those come up. And I said, but you don't understand. I've been doing this for years, and this has never happened like this before. He goes, it's not, but it's how you handled it. You didn't freak out, because, hey, I'm committed. I will never see this as worth it is. I am not giving up. There is a solution to this problem. I will find the solution. I will take massive action. I know I will find the right action to take. And so he's like, I'm just so, part of the call, one of the benefits of the call today was just seeing the different steps that you took on this coaching call to make it happen. And it actually it added value to him, and like, wow, yeah. And so that's the kind of thing that I would share. All kinds of crazy stuff happens throughout my week, and things that I'm doing, and things like that. So the question is, would you be interested $10 a month for a private vlog like that inside of my Kajabi as an ongoing monthly membership? And so if you'd be interested, let me know. podcastanswerman.com/465. Leave me a comment there, and I will see if 10 of you say yes. And if 10 of you say yes, I'll create the product. We'll give it a shot for at least 1 month, and we'll see how it goes. So with that, my friends, I want to say thank you again for tuning in to this episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. I know it's been a little bit of all over the place, but I did have an outline, and I shared the things that I did want to share. And I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you want to let me know if you enjoyed it, that's great. You can let me know in the comment section over at podcastanswerman.com/465 as well. And if you did not enjoy this episode, guess what? You don't need to tell me. You just don't. And by the way, if you didn't enjoy this episode, chances are you're not actually still listening anyway. And one more reminder, if you are interested in launching a podcast and you would like to have me as your personal coach, walking you through every single step in the process, I would love to have you as one of my satisfied graduates of Podcasting A to Z after this next session of Podcasting A to Z that launches on Monday, October 3rd. I would love to work with you. Head over to podcastinga2z.com. Get registered today. Until next time, my friends, I encourage each and every single one of you to take everything you do in life to the next level.